Prior to the proceeding, Mike Tyson is 14 years old when he walks into the wrong boxing gym and gets thrown out by the owner. The 7 words he says on his way out don't just embarrass the owner. They empty his entire gym within 3 months and destroy his reputation in Brooklyn forever. Brooklyn, New York, June 1980. 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Summer heat melting the asphalt. Humidity hanging in the air. Sticky, suffocating. The kind that makes breathing difficult. Brownsville neighborhood. One of Brooklyn's toughest corners. This is a place where violence, poverty, hopelessness are normal. Kids growing up here end up in prison, on the streets, or if they're very lucky, somehow surviving. On Flatbush Avenue, in the basement of a 2-story brick building, there's Sullivan's boxing gym. Hard to notice from the outside. A small sign, faded red letters. Glass windows covered in dust. Inside looks dark. But for those who know, this is one of Brooklyn's most serious boxing gyms. Not where tourists come, not where people take photos. This is where real fighters come. This is where blood, sweat, and iron smell lives. This is the temple for people who've dedicated their lives to the ring. The gym owner is Frank Sullivan, 52 years old, former professional boxer. His career wasn't brilliant. Never made it to a championship fight. Never made big money, but fought in professional rings for 15 years. 48 fights, 32 wins, 16 losses. A mid-level career. Not good enough, but tough enough. And now, after retirement, he's opened his own gym, training his own students. Frank has a philosophy. Boxing isn't for everyone. Boxing is seriousness, discipline, sacrifice. This isn't a playground. This is a battlefield. Frank is very careful about who he accepts into his gym. Only serious, determined young people who truly want to fight, not punk kids from the streets. To Frank, street kids are undisciplined, rude, disrespectful. They only know how to brawl, but they don't know boxing. And in Frank's gym, boxing is taught, not brawling. Frank has 8 students, all between 16 to 22 years old. All come regularly to train. All respect Frank. All follow Frank's rules. Frank is proud of them. He teaches them not just boxing, but life lessons. He teaches them discipline, respect, how to be a man. To Frank, a man first shows respect to the ring, then to his opponent, then to himself. This order is unchangeable. That June afternoon, the gym is half full. 4 to 5 students. Some hitting the heavy bag, some jumping rope, some shadow boxing in the mirror. Air is hot, humidity high, everyone sweating, but nobody complaining. Because Frank doesn't tolerate complainers. Frank's logic is simple. If you're not strong enough to box, then boxing isn't for you. Go find something else. Frank is sitting in his office, a small room in the corner of the gym, separated by a glass partition. Inside it's narrow, cramped, walls covered with old boxing posters, photos of Frank from his younger days, some newspaper clippings. Frank is drinking a cup of coffee, checking his ledger, reviewing his students' payment records. The gym's income isn't much, but it's enough. Frank doesn't do this to get rich. Frank does this to continue the tradition. Right then, the door opens, hard. The heavy metal door creaks open. Sunlight pours in. For a moment, everyone squints. Then, a silhouette appears. Small, thin, young. A kid. He closes the door. Stands there for a few seconds, adjusting to the darkness. Then, walks inside. The kid looks about 14, maybe younger. Wearing a black t-shirt, jeans, torn sneakers. His clothes aren't clean. Old, worn out. His hair is messy. Acne on his face. Dark skin. Large eyes. his gaze strangely, both timid and defiant. His body is skinny, not yet developed, not muscular, thin neck, narrow shoulders. But there's a weight in his walk, a determination, carrying something inside, an invisible weight. Everyone in the gym looks at him. Students pause, slow down their exercises, look with curiosity. Who is this kid? What's he doing here? Frank looks from his office, frowns, annoyed. He doesn't know this kid. The kid came without an appointment. This is against Frank's rules. The kid walks toward the center of the gym. His walk isn't fast, but determined. Comes to the edge of the ring, touches the ropes with his hand, looks inside the ring. There's something in his eyes. Hunger, desire, longing. The ring is empty, but the kid is looking at it like there's someone inside, like he can see something there. Frank comes out of the office, walks slowly toward the kid, arms crossed over his chest, face expression hard, cold. Comes next to the kid, stops, waits. The kid notices Frank, turns his head, looks at him. 2 seconds of eye contact. The kid doesn't say anything, just looks. Frank asks, "What do you want, kid?" Voice hard, authoritative, questioning. Uses the word kid, not with affection, but dismissively, condescendingly. The kid answers. Voice low, slightly hoarse, but clear. "I want to learn boxing." Frank looks him up and down, examines the kid's body, looks at his skinny arms, thin neck, undeveloped chest, then asks, "How old are you?" 14. "Do you go to school?" Kid nods. "I try to." Frank patches this answer. "Try, so you don't go regularly." Kid doesn't answer. His silence becomes the answer. Frank continues. "Can you pay?" $40 a month. Kid shakes his head. "I can't, but I can work. I'll clean the gym, do whatever you want." Frank laughs. But his laugh isn't genuine, mocking, sarcastic laughter. "Everyone around here tells the same story, kid. Can't pay, but I'll work. This isn't a charity. This is a serious boxing gym. There are athletes training here. This isn't a playground for street kids like you." The kid's face doesn't change, shows no emotion, just listens. Frank continues, this time his voice harder. "Look, kid, I know your story. You're from Brownsville, maybe Bed-Stuy, maybe somewhere else. You grew up in the streets, you fought, maybe got involved with gangs. Now you come here wanting to be a boxer because you want to be Mike Tyson. You want to be Muhammad Ali. But the truth is, you're not like them. They had talent. They had discipline. You're just a kid who fights." Kid still says nothing, just looks at Frank. There's something in his eyes. Frank can't quite read it, but something disturbing. Frank delivers the final blow. "Get out of here, kid. This gym isn't for you. This gym is for real fighters, not for street punks like you. Go find somewhere else. Maybe the YMCA. Maybe a community center. Maybe somewhere will take you. But not here. This is for serious people." The gym is completely silent. Nobody moves. Everyone is watching this scene. Students have stopped, waiting. The air is electric, tense, like something's about to happen. The kid bows his head slightly, as if accepting. Then looks at the ring one more time. A long look, a farewell look. Turns, walks toward the door. His walk is slow, heavy, like every step hurts. Reaches the door, opens it. Then stops. Doesn't turn, doesn't look at Frank. Just stands in the doorway. Over his shoulder, backward, loud enough for everyone to hear, he says 7 words. Strongly delivered. After saying them, the kid walks out. The door closes behind him. Sunlight disappears. The gym is plunged back into darkness. A few seconds of silence. Then one of the students starts laughing. Then others laugh too. Laughter spreads. Frank laughs too, shaking his head. Did you hear that? We're gonna regret it. These street kids are all the same. Always think there's something special. Another student asks, Frank, what was the kid's name? Frank shrugs. I don't know. Didn't ask. Doesn't matter. There are thousands of kids like that in Brooklyn. All dreaming the same dream. All want to be boxers. None of them make it. Life goes on. Students return to training. Frank goes to his office. Those 7 words are forgotten. At least that's how it seems at the time. 3 weeks later, mid-July, Frank opens his gym in the morning, same as always. Opens the door, goes inside, turns on the lights, checks the equipment. Everything normal. But there's something, he feels it. Can't define it, but something's different. In the afternoon, his students start arriving. Normally, he has 8 students. But today only 5 come. Frank notices, but doesn't think much of it. Maybe they got sick. Maybe they had other things. They'll come tomorrow. But the next day, again 5 people come. And the day after that, 4 people. Frank is starting to worry. He asks his students, where are the others? The young men look at each other. Nobody wants to answer. Finally, one says, Frank, they went to another gym. Frank is shocked. Which gym? Customato's gym, in the Catskills. Frank knows this name. Customato is a legendary trainer. Trained Floyd Patterson, made him world champion. But Cus retired, moved to the Catskills, isn't training anymore. At least that's what Frank thought. Frank asks, why did they go there? The young man looks uncomfortable. Frank, there's a kid there. Everyone's talking about him. They say he's the most talented young fighter ever seen. 14 years old, but hits like a professional boxer. Customato adopted him, training him personally. Frank's stomach churns. What's this kid's name? Mike. Mike Tyson. Frank's world stops. That name, those 7 words. That kid. Frank's mouth goes dry. He asks, his voice trembling. 14 years old, black, skinny, from Brownsville? Yes. Did you hear the story? Cus found him on the streets. The kid was in a gang, always in trouble. But Cus saw something in him. Says this kid is a talent we've never seen in history. Mike Tyson in the ring is like he's from another world. Frank needs to sit down. His legs start trembling. That kid he threw out. That kid he called a street punk. The kid Customato calls unprecedented talent in history. Frank remembers. He remembers those 7 words. One day, you'll regret turning me away. The following week, Frank loses more students. Now, he only has 3 students left. Everyone is talking about Mike Tyson. Everyone wants to go to Customato's gym. Everyone wants to see Mike. Because rumors are spreading. Mike Tyson isn't just talented, he's extraordinary. 14 years old, but knocking out 25-year-old professionals. His speed, his power, his technique is incredible. Customato says he's training the greatest heavyweight champion in history. Frank's gym is dying. Slowly, painfully, dying. Students are leaving. No new ones are coming. Because now everyone knows. Frank Sullivan threw that kid out. Rejected Mike Tyson. And now Mike Tyson is becoming Brooklyn's legend. Frank Sullivan is known as the man who couldn't recognize Mike Tyson. By the end of August, Frank is down to 1 student. The gym is empty. Frank opens his gym every day, but nobody comes. Can't pay his bills. Rent is overdue. Equipment is aging, no money to replace it. In September, Frank is sitting in his gym one day when an old student comes for a visit. Frank gets happy. Maybe he wants to come back, but the student just came to say goodbye. The student explains, Frank, I need to tell you something. I went to the Catskills. I watched Mike. Frank, that kid, is real. I mean, when you saw him, he looked skinny, like a street kid. But in the ring, another world. Cuss did something with him. Or maybe that talent was always there, and Cuss just brought it out. I don't know. But Frank, this kid is going to be champion. Everyone knows it. Everyone can see it. And you threw him out. Frank can't say anything. What can he say? He has no defense. It's all true. The student continues. Frank, everyone in Brooklyn knows this story. Everyone knows you rejected Mike Tyson. And everyone thinks you made a foolish mistake. I'm sorry, Frank, but that's the truth. Nobody wants to come here anymore because they think if you couldn't recognize someone like Mike Tyson, then you're not a good trainer. You're just someone who reads books and sticks to rules. But you can't see real talent. The student leaves. Frank is alone, sitting in his empty gym, looking at the posters on the walls, looking at his own young photos, looking at his 15-year professional career. And now he understands. Being in boxing and teaching boxing are different things. Being good in your era doesn't mean you can see future talent. In October, Frank has to close his gym. No money left, no students left, no reputation left. Sullivan's boxing gym closes. The end of a 15-year tradition. Frank gets a job at a construction company the next year. Physical work, heavy work, not boxing, just working to survive. November. Mike Tyson is 20 years old. WBC heavyweight championship fight against Trevor Berbick. Knockout in round 2. Mike Tyson becomes the youngest heavyweight world champion in history. Frank Sullivan watches the fight on television. In a small apartment, alone, with a beer bottle. When Mike Tyson enters the ring, Frank recognizes him. That face, that look, that kid who walked into his gym 6 years ago. That skinny kid he called a street punk. Now world champion. When the fight ends, reporters swarm Mike, asking questions. Mike, how did you get here? What was your journey like? Mike answers. It was hard. Many people didn't believe in me. Many people rejected me. But Cuss believed in me. Cuss took me in. Cuss gave me a chance. And I owe him everything. Reporter asks, what do you say to people who rejected you? Mike laughs. But his laugh is bitter. I don't say anything to them. They already know. When they look in the mirror, they see the opportunity they missed. That's my revenge. Not forgetting them, but making them part of my success. Every fight I win is a reminder to every person who rejected me. Frank turns off the television. Can't stand up. Sits there, head in his hands, crying. A 52-year-old man, facing the biggest regret of his life. Frank walks into a bar in Brooklyn, on Flatbush Avenue, a few blocks from where his old gym was. Bar is half full. Frank sits at the counter, orders whiskey. The man next to him starts talking. Aren't you Frank Sullivan, the old boxer? Frank nods. Yes, I used to watch you. You were a good fighter. You opened a gym, right? Frank gives a bitter smile. Yes, it closed. The man nods. Sorry, why did it close? Frank sips his whiskey. Long silence. Then answers. Because I was a fool. Because I couldn't see the greatest talent that came my way. Because I looked at a kid and just judged him. Looked at his appearance, his clothes, where he came from. But I didn't look inside. Didn't look at his heart. Didn't look at his hunger. The man gets curious. Who are you talking about? Frank lifts his head, looks at the man. Mike Tyson. He came to my gym in 1980. He was 14 years old. I threw him out, called him a street punk. And he said 7 words to me. One day you'll regret turning me away. And he was right. Every day I regret it. The man goes quiet, then asks, "So what do you do now?" "I work construction. Don't do boxing, no students, no gym, just regrets." The man nods, doesn't say anything else. Because what can be said? Some mistakes are too big. Some opportunities come once. Some 7 words echo for a lifetime. Frank Sullivan is 77 years old, retired, old, alone, living in a small apartment. No children, no family. Spent most of his life working construction. Completely disconnected from boxing. Doesn't even watch fights anymore. Because every boxing match reminds him of Mike Tyson. And Mike Tyson reminds him of his greatest failure. One evening, there's a knock on the door. Frank opens it. A young man is standing there in his 20s, black, athletic build, kind face. The young man asks, "Are you Frank Sullivan?" "Yes. My name is Marcus. I'm a journalist. I'm writing an article about Brooklyn's boxing history. Can I talk to you?" Frank hesitates, but finally agrees. Marcus comes in. They sit down. Marcus asks, "Mr. Sullivan, you had a gym in the 1980s. What happened?" Frank takes a deep breath. "It closed. I lost my students." "Why?" Long silence. Frank answers, "Because I rejected Mike Tyson." Marcus takes notes. "I know the story, but I want to hear it from your side. What happened that day?" Frank tells it. Tells everything. How Mike came in, how he looked, how he himself acted. Those 7 words. Tells it all. First time he's told anyone the whole story. 25 years later. Marcus asks, "So how do you feel now?" Frank's eyes fill up. "Regret. Just regret. I didn't give a kid a chance. Because he didn't fit my expectations. Because he didn't look right, according to my rules. And that kid became one of the greatest boxers in the world. And I just became a construction worker. No gym, no students, no legacy. My only legacy is being remembered as the man who made history's biggest mistake." Marcus takes notes, then asks, "If Mike Tyson was in this room right now, what would you say to him?" Frank thinks for a long time, then answers, "I would apologize. I would tell him, I didn't see you. I didn't see the fire inside you. I didn't see your hunger. I just looked from the outside and judged. And that's my greatest failure. You gave me a chance. You came to my gym, wanted to learn boxing, were ready to work, and I threw you out. And for that, I apologize. I apologize every day." Marcus writes his article. The article is published. Title: The Man Who Rejected Mike Tyson, Frank Sullivan's Story of Regret. A week after the article is published, there's another knock on Frank's door. This time, it's the mailman. Bringing an envelope. Frank opens it. Inside is a note, handwritten. "Frank, I read the article. I heard your apology. I want you to know I'm not angry at you. Never was. You gave me life's most important lesson. It doesn't matter how people see you. What matters is what you think about yourself. When you rejected me, I worked harder. When you didn't believe in me, I believed in myself. You didn't give me a chance. I asked someone else for a chance. And Kus gave me that chance. So in a way, you're part of my career. Because you said no to me. And that no made me stronger. Thank you, Frank. Thank you for saying no, Mike Tyson." Frank reads the letter, reads it again, reads it a 3rd time, and cries. But this time, it's different. This time, he's crying with relief. Because, after 25 years, somehow, he feels like he's received forgiveness. Frank Sullivan dies in 2009. 81 years old, heart attack. His funeral is small. A few old friends, a few former coworkers. But there's a surprise. A luxury car arrives at the funeral. A man gets out. In a suit, sunglasses, large build. Mike Tyson. Mike attends the ceremony. Doesn't say anything. Just there. Stands by Frank's coffin, silently pays respects. Then leaves. Later a reporter asks Mike, "Why did you go to Frank Sullivan's funeral? He was the man who rejected you." Mike answers, "Because he gave me a lesson. Maybe unknowingly, maybe unwillingly, but he did. He taught me that I don't need other people's approval. He taught me that a no answer isn't the end. Sometimes it's the beginning of a new beginning. Frank rejected me, and that rejection led me to Customato. Cuss made me world champion. So, indirectly, Frank is part of my championship, and for that, I respect him. Now it's 2026. Mike Tyson is 60 years old, retired but still active, doing podcasts, giving talks, sharing life lessons. On a podcast, the host asks, "Mike, what was the moment in your career that affected you the most?" Mike thinks, then answers, "When I was 14, I went to a boxing gym. The gym owner threw me out, called me a street punk, told me this isn't for you. And as I was leaving, I said 7 words to him. One day, you'll regret turning me away." Those 7 words became my career's manifesto. Every training session, every fight, every victory was to prove those 7 words. That man rejected me, and I thank him, because that rejection ignited me. That rejection kept me hungry. That rejection made me champion. The host asks, "Looking back now, have you forgiven that man?" Mike laughs. "Forgiven? I was never angry at him. He was just doing his job, acting according to his own rules. But his rules were wrong. And life taught him that. I'm just a witness to how life educated him. I'm not angry at him. I'm grateful to him, because if he hadn't said no, I wouldn't be here today." Is there a Frank Sullivan in your life right now who's rejecting you? Someone telling you you're not good enough. Someone leaving you out, not giving you a chance, not seeing your potential. Here's what you need to know. That rejection isn't your end. That rejection can be your beginning. Mike Tyson was rejected by Frank Sullivan, and that rejection made him the youngest heavyweight world champion in history. The difference is this. Mike Tyson used that rejection not as an end, but as fuel. He said, "You rejected me. I'll show you." And he did. Frank Sullivan trusted his 15-year boxing career, his own gym, all his experience, and it was all wrong. Because experience sometimes creates blindness. The thought, "I know everything," prevents you from seeing new things. Mike Tyson was 14 years old, skinny, a kid from the streets. But there was a fire inside him, and Frank couldn't see that fire. Because Frank was looking outside, not inside. Now you think, who in your life are you judging from the outside? Who are you dismissing because they don't look good enough? Could you be missing the next Mike Tyson? And if you're the one being rejected, that rejection isn't the end of your story. That rejection is just one chapter. You're going to write the next chapter. Mike Tyson said 7 words. Those 7 words changed a life. So what are your 7 words? Who do you need to say them to? And what will you do after those 7 words? Because talking is easy. Proving is hard. Mike Tyson didn't just talk. He proved it. Every day, every training session, every fight, and became world champion. Now it's your turn. Will you talk or will you prove?